Kal Halalim La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who rule well and teach well, and salutations and blessings unto you elect. Yeah, this is a clip I'm going to play, about 50 seconds long, from Lord Rothschild, all right? The Lord Rothschild, all right? One of the top men and the top family on the planet, that govern this earth, all right? I just want to play this clip and then, get into it. And I'm going to pause a certain moment of this clip because I don't want it to say, what it's going to say, because I don't want to get flagged, all right? I already have a strike. So I'm going to just pause it at that moment, and it has subtitles so you can read it.
I mean, I think the phenomenal change that's come about in the last 2-3 years is there probably isn't a child over the age of 6 that isn't deeply concerned about climate change. I mean, there were reports in the past, but now the focus of the world are on those problems. Whether it's droughts, whether it's storms, whether it's the seaside being ruined, just undermining life.
Everything.
Right. So he's talking about climate change, which is a big tool being used. If you notice, a lot of actors, men in Hollywood who are bought and paid for, they're basically MK Ultra dummies. This guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, a lot of them been pushing that for years because that's what they're using, man. They're going to have climate lockdowns, 15-minute lockdown cities and all that. You can't drive your car. You can't own a car anymore, really. You're going to have to ride share, different things like that. And that's a thing that they've been using. So I'm going to fast forward it. All right. She's going to mention the C word right there. If you can read that. I'm not going to play it. I think she's going to say it again. Yeah, right there. Hopefully, yeah, right there. All right. Now let's look at, because she mentioned the C word, right? So let's see what he says in response to that.
But actually, we do need to think long term about the planet.
Yeah, and it's a distraction, but more.
It's a distraction. Look at her reaction now.
A distraction. It's a tragedy, but yeah. And it's a distraction, but more than a distraction. It's a tragedy, but it does help.
It's a distraction, and then he had to catch himself. Whoa, it's a tragedy. And she had to, oh my goodness, catch herself.
Knock-on effect. Distraction.
Play it one more time.
Incredible. But actually, we do need to think long.
Yeah. And it's a distraction, but more than a distraction. It's a tragedy, but it does have that knock-on effect.
All right, so that just goes to show you, man, this is the top. If you know anything about so-called conspiracies, man, you can look into the Rothschilds, their influence, how they got started, through their political ties, through the monetary system, through different wars. You had the opium wars, and you had other so-called real wars, which there's an old saying, all wars are bankers' wars, right? All wars are bankers' wars, man. And this is 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? You Edomites are Satan's physical counterpart, right? And that word devices, when you look it up in the Greek, noema or noema, which means a mental perception, a thought, an evil purpose, that which thinks, the mind, thoughts, or purposes, man. So Esau, he speaks with them demons, right? And he gets them thoughts in his head, man. And then he proposes them. He proposes the thoughts. Let me see what I can do that's so, that's evil and wicked, right? From the root nous, which means the mind, comprising alike the faculties of perceiving and understanding and those of feeling, judging, determining. So basically, Esau works through the Most High works through your mind, right? He's in the dream, in the vision of the night, right? Pursuant to the book of Job 33, he imparts unto you what you're gonna do, and Esau is who? He's the sword of the Most High, man. All right, let's go to hold on, where is that? Psalms 36. Psalms 36:1, a psalm of David, the servant of the Lord Yahweh, the transgression of the wicked. So I can saith within my heart that there is no fear of the Most High before his eyes, for he flattereth himself in his own eyes. Right, this man, Esau's all about certain, what do you call it, idolization of himself, right? He's the ultimate narcissist, right? In the book of Wisdom of Solomon 2, I believe it mentions, let us leave tokens of our joy. He'll talk about, oh, this is the statue of this great general, and he was a genocidal maniac, or he was a complete demon, or whatever the case is, right? Until his iniquity be found to be hateful, right? Statues of all kinds of people that are being, in this time right now, being found out. Those men were wicked, right? Like where we used to prophesy, right across Dundas Square downtown Toronto, right? It was on Ryerson University property. Now that guy Egerton, I believe his first name was Egerton Ryerson. Who was he, right? Who was he so significant to have a whole university named after him? And that's one of the most prestigious Canadian universities, Ryerson, right? People know that university. Well, he was the person that, among other things, he was an educator, but he basically created the blueprint for the residential school systems in Canada for the Gadites, and we did a lesson on that, man, right in front of that statue, right? It's just a 2-minute walk from the where we used to have camp, right? There's a statue of him. We did a lesson on it, and then interestingly enough, about 4, maybe 5 years later, you had a big protest down there. People were throwing paint on him and spray painting him, and I don't know if they took it down. I don't want to exaggerate, but they may have, because in the States they've been taking down statues and whatnot. But that just goes into those kinds of things, And that whole campus, man, you had different statues. You had a statue of, or you had a bust of 2 Romans, right? Roman men in Roman military apparel, basically soldiers, or maybe politicians, right? But they were in Roman regalia, and they were basically holding each other's privates, man, right? Their hands were low, and then the statue stopped, but you can use your imagination where the hands will go. And they had the branches and everything, and that goes into what? This system being the Roman Empire. That's on Ryerson University. Verse 3, the words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. So you can't trust this man. So when you have General Yohana talking about, I know the white man's a devil, but go ahead and take that juice, the beetle juice, right? Take what he told you. Take your take that shit, basically. How are you gonna take it when it just says the words of his mouth are iniquity, meaning sin, and deceit, which is lies? About take what? And something experimental? Yo, man, that shit gets me mad, because you jakes that believe in that shit, you guys have no backbone, you have no brain. He hath left off to be wise and to do good. Verse 4 is the point. He deviseth mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Right? And let's look up that word deviseth in the Hebrew, which is hashab. I believe that's a hashab, which means to think, plan, esteem, calculate, invent, make a judgment, imagine. So look, man, you're talking about the wickedest people on the planet having absolute, basically infinite or damn near infinite resources and capabilities at their hands, at the disposal of their hands, and they wake up every day thinking, look, how are we gonna mess up society? How are we gonna further keep the people down, dumbed down, and most importantly, how are we gonna keep the Israelites in sin and bondage, right? And how can we exterminate these people? I know the scriptures speak about, like for example, they know the scriptures, man. How do they know the scriptures? Because they have the top men on the planet researching for them, right? They have the top men on the planet, top scholars researching for them. So they know this scripture, Ecclesiastes 4:16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So they know that. They know. I'm gonna try to find this one. It's in the book of Jeremiah. Hold on. This is it. This is Jeremiah 31 and 35. Thus said the Lord Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts, Yahweh is his name. And Most High set all that up. Those are like programs. Like when you log on your computer, you see programs, and you click them, and they function. Except in that sense, they got bugs. But that's why you got certain updates that you get to debug or to fix those bugs, to tweak, you know. But the ordinances the Most High set up, it tells you that they rejoice, man. In the book of in the Apocrypha, I forget which book, but it mentions that the stars, the moon, they rejoice at the calling of the Lord to do His will, to do to do what they're set up to do, each day and night, right? You got the sun comes up and then it sets, and then the moon comes up and then it sets, right? And then what do you call it? You have the stars. You have the ocean that there's a dividing line. It doesn't overpass unless there's a plague, like a tsunami, right? A flooding or whatever. But you have all these things set up like programs, like in the Matrix when the Oracle, she was telling Neo, she's like, look, there's a program for that bird. There's a program for this. There's a program for that. And the Most High is in control through His holy angels, man. Right? It's not like there's a free-for-all in the spiritual realm. No, there's order, man. If there's order here, as Esau says, he's right on that point. As above, so below. He's right. That's why we say, let thy book of Matthew 6, our Father, Adawan Palal, right? Our Father prayer. Let thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the top or the bottom mirrors the top, man. As the saying goes, shit flows downhill, right? I'm not saying that shit, but that's how they say in the world. Shit flows downhill, but the water flows downhill, man. So if the Most High is saying, look, verse 36, if those ordinances depart from me, why do you think this man is out here saying, look, we want to block out the sky, we want to do experiments? They've been doing that for the last few years. Gates and all these top men. If you pay attention, if you read the news, if you're not on World Star or watching a bitch twerk or doing some fuckery, if you're actually keeping up and watching, as Yahweh Shai said, you're gonna see this man is doing all kinds of things. He knows these precepts, man. He knows these prophecies. This is like a challenge. He's like, oh, look, the Lord said this, right? Verse 36, if those ordinances, right, so-called programs, so you can understand, the sun and the moon, those are programs, man, right? Ordinances depart from before me, say the Lord say the Lord Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. And I got a little off topic there, but the point was, this man, he just said it. He just said it, right? This word distraction, that's a good word. Distraction, noun, mid-15th century, the drawing away of the mind from one point or course to another or others. So not just one, to multiple streams, man, of madness, So this man will have you, that's why he has you so attached to these stimulants, man. If you notice, you're too stimulated. When you wake up, you need your phone, you need your coffee, you need your cigarette or your weed or whatever other shit you take. You need that Netflix, you need that radio, you need the podcast, you need something that's just stimulation. So you really don't know how to even be relaxed or to be calm or sound-minded, right? There's a saying called sound-mindedness. That's why they have you distracted, meaning they got you entangled. They have your mind basically. It's like you know, it's like they got your pieces of your mind, man. You know, they got clamps and they're stretching and they got pieces. Each here's one piece, here's another piece, and they got you plugged in. That's why it means plugged in. You're plugged into the matrix. It's not physically, right? There's a guy, there's this Moabite, I think, or Ammonite. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast. He said, you know, I got rid of my depression when I went out to I think he went to Tanzania, and he went to go he experienced hunting with the local tribesmen, and he's like, look, the first week I got withdrawal from, you know, I don't have internet, I don't have my phone, I can't look at social media or whatever. And then he's like, by week 2 I wasn't anxious, I wasn't depressed, I was happy, you know, because life was, you know, life was how you lived it basically. What you did, you hunted, then you came home, there was a big celebration, the woman gathered the food and made food and all that, there's a feast, a bonfire, right? But the point is, look, it says from Latin, a pulling apart or separating, meaning you're not sound-minded, you're not focused. You don't know what focus is, you don't know what relaxed is, right? That's why they even tell you it's just good to even close your eyes and breathe for 5 minutes, man, just to sit there, just to feel calm, right? Your mind might be so overworried, your central nervous system might be so stimulated from all these different things, like I said, the caffeine, and nowadays you have the caffeine and not just the coffee. You guys, you taking your energy drinks, you know, all these different things. It's spiking you, and it's not good, you know. And it says down here, past participle of distrahir, draw in different directions, right? So that was the point. I didn't want to go too far on that. Actually, select it down here. It says sense of a drawing of the mind in different directions. Mental confusion or bewilderment is from 1590s, meaning violent mental disturbance, man. Excitement, stimulating madness. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Meaning a thing or fact that causes mental diversion or bewilderment, bro. Look at this, man. It said excitement, stimulating madness. You know, do you know before you even go to bed, you're not supposed to watch big drama or horror or something to get you up, because it's gonna disrupt your cycle, man. We have a thing called the circadian rhythm. There's already a biological clock, man. You know, between, for example, the hours of 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., right? 2 hours basically in the afternoon. That's your highest point for circulation in your body, right? Your blood is circulating at the highest tip, so it's not good to exert yourself. And you know what's funny? The Issacharites, they have a thing called a siesta, man, right? Where they chill for 1 hour, basically from noon to 1 o'clock, right? That's why you know you got lunch at that time. You kind of chill out, right? So there's already natural laws, man, and we're gonna get all that in the kingdom. We're gonna be perfect. So anyway, Kal Halalim Layhaw Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Racha HaKodash. The water for letting me do this lesson and even finding this out that I didn't read down this far last time. So Brakate Yahuwah, Brakate Yahushai, Bashim Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles at GMS, who rule well and who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings unto you elect. Shalom.